There are moments in life when everything and everyone seems to rise against you. When doors slam shut, opportunities vanish, and people look at you with pity or disbelief. They whisper behind your back, "There's no way." They look at your situation, your past, your pain, and they decide your story is over. But what they don't know is that the author of your life has already written a different ending. When people say, "No way," God says, "Watch me." You see, God has a way of turning the impossible into a testimony. He delights in proving wrong every voice that doubted you. He specializes in using the broken, the overlooked, and the underestimated. When they said you'd never recover, God whispered, "Watch me heal." When they said you'd never make it out, God smiled and said, "Watch me deliver." When they said you'd never be more than your mistakes, God declared, "Watch me redeem." That's the kind of power that stands behind you. A power that doesn't need approval from man to move mountains for you. Every setback you faced wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every no you heard wasn't rejection, it was redirection. God was hiding you until the right moment, shaping you until your strength matched your calling. Sometimes he lets people walk away so they can't take credit for what he's about to do. Because when he shows up, everyone will know it was him and him alone. The same voices that said "no way" will one day stand in awe and say, "Only God could have done that." There's a power in your story that hasn't been revealed yet. The pain, the tears, the lonely nights, they all serve a purpose. God doesn't waste anything. What felt like an ending was actually the setup for a divine beginning. You thought it was over, but God was just getting started. He was working behind the scenes, aligning people, shifting circumstances, preparing blessings with your name on them. So don't give up now. Don't let their disbelief define your destiny. People may count you out, but God has already counted you in. You may not see the full picture yet, but trust this. The same God who parted seas, raised the dead, and made a way in the wilderness is still writing your story. One day soon, the same ones who said "no way" will watch in silence as God says, "Watch me." And when that day comes, every tear, every trial, every closed door will make perfect sense. God is about to make your "no way" moment your greatest testimony. When people reject you, when they laugh at your dreams or doubt your ability to rise, remember this. Their "no" cannot cancel God's "yes." The world may look at your situation and say it's over, but heaven has already declared that it's not finished yet. What God has spoken over your life cannot be undone by the opinions of others. He doesn't consult people before blessing you. He doesn't need their approval to open doors for you. When he says yes, every force that tries to block you becomes powerless. There will be moments when the rejection hurts, when people's words pierce deeper than you expected. They'll say you're not qualified, not chosen, not good enough. But that's when you have to remind yourself, they don't hold your future. God does. Their rejection might sting for a moment, but it's only redirecting you toward what's truly meant for you. What they denied you, God will replace with something beyond your imagination. That job that didn't call you back, that person who walked away, that opportunity that fell apart, none of it took God by surprise. In fact, sometimes he allows rejection so you'll stop chasing approval from the wrong places. Every closed door carries a message. You don't need this one because I have something better. God's a yes might not come through the route you expected, but it will come. And when it does, it'll make sense why everything else had to fall apart. The rejection that once broke your heart will be the reason you found your calling. The no that once discouraged you will become the yes that defines your destiny. Don't be afraid when people turn you down or doubt your vision. They don't have the authority to stop what God has ordained. What he blesses, no man can curse. What he opens, no one can shut. Their no is simply noise, temporary, powerless, and irrelevant in the light of his promise. You may not see it yet, but one day you'll look back and realize that every human rejection was divine protection. When God says a yes over your life, it overrides every limitation, every label, and every opinion. His word stands final, unstoppable, unshakable, and guaranteed. Every setback you face is not a sign of defeat. It's a setup for something greater. When things fall apart, when doors close, when life doesn't go the way you planned, it's easy to believe that you failed. But what if that setback wasn't punishment? What if it was preparation? God never wastes pain. God never wastes pain. Every disappointment, every delay, every heartbreak has purpose written all over it. He's not denying you. He's developing you. Sometimes God has to let things fall apart to build something stronger. You may have lost the job, but you gained character. You may have been betrayed, but you learned discernment. You may have walked through the fire, but you came out refined, stronger, and wiser than before. The process hurts, but the promise is worth it. God uses the seasons of struggle to stretch you, to strengthen your faith, and to prepare you for the very thing you prayed for. He knows that if he gave it to you too soon, you wouldn't be ready to handle it. So he lets you go through the valley so that when you reach the mountaintop, you'll appreciate it more deeply. The setback you're facing right now might look like the end, but it's really the turning point. God is setting the stage for something that eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard. When Joseph was thrown into a pit and sold into slavery, it looked like a disaster, but it was the path to destiny. When David was hiding in caves, it looked like defeat, but it was preparation for the throne. The same God who turned their setbacks into setups is doing the same for you. Ooh. You may not understand why it had to happen, but one day you will. The pain that once made you question God will become the proof of his faithfulness. The tears you cried will water the very ground where your breakthrough grows. God is rewriting your story, and what looked like loss will soon reveal itself as divine redirection. So even when life feels unfair, hold your head high. Because behind every setback, God is setting you up for a comeback so great that even your enemies will have to say, only God could have done that. God has a beautiful habit of using the people the world overlooks. He takes the broken, the forgotten, the rejected, and turns them into vessels of power and purpose. When others look at your flaws and failures, God looks at your potential. He doesn't choose the perfect, he perfects the chosen. The world may count you out because of your past, but God counts you in because of his plan. He delights in proving that your weakness is not a limitation. It's a platform for his strength. You see, God never looks for the qualified. He qualifies those he calls. Moses stuttered, yet God chose him to speak before kings. David was the youngest and least expected, yet he was anointed to be king. Gideon called himself the weakest in his family, but God called him a mighty warrior. Throughout history, God has chosen the least likely people to do the most extraordinary things because he wants the glory to point back to him, not to human ability. When you feel broken, when you feel too flawed or too damaged, that's exactly where God's grace shines brightest. He doesn't need your perfection. He just needs your surrender. He takes your pain and turns it into power. He takes your scars and turns them into stories of redemption. The very areas where you feel unqualified are the ones he plans to use to impact others. You might think your life is too messy for God to use, but that's exactly what makes your testimony powerful, because it shows the world what grace can do. Never forget, the same God who used a shepherd boy to defeat a giant, who used a prisoner to save a nation, who used fishermen to spread his word across the earth, is the same God writing your story right now. You don't have to be perfect to be chosen. You just have to be willing. God is not waiting for you to get everything right. He's waiting for you to trust him completely. And when you do, he'll take every broken piece of your past and build something so extraordinary that even those who overlooked you will have to admit, God's hand has always been on your life. Even when you can't see it, God is working behind the scenes. He's moving pieces, aligning people, and orchestrating moments that will eventually lead you right into the promise he prepared for you. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening, like your prayers are going unheard, your efforts are in vain, and your faith is being tested beyond its limit. But just because you don't see movement doesn't mean God is still. He's quietly arranging every detail of your story with divine precision. He's the kind of God who works in silence but shows up in power. There are times when God hides his work to strengthen your trust. You might look around and think he's forgotten you, but he's actually protecting you from what you can't yet handle. He's delaying certain blessings not to deny you, but to develop you. He knows the right time, the right place, and the right way to reveal his plan, and when it unfolds, it will be worth every moment of waiting. The unseen seasons are sacred, because that's where your faith grows. Faith is built not in the spotlight of success, but in the shadows of uncertainty. Think of a seed buried in the ground. It's in the dark, unseen, surrounded by pressure and dirt. But deep inside, something is happening. Roots are forming, strength is building. Growth is taking place beneath the surface. That's how God works with us. He buries us for a season, not to bury us forever, but to plant us for growth. The silence is not his absence, it's his strategy. He's making sure that when the breakthrough comes, you're ready to handle it with wisdom, humility, and strength. You may not see what he's doing, but one day you'll look back and realize that every delay had purpose, every detour had direction, and every closed door was divine protection. God is never idle. He's intentional. While you're waiting, he's working. While you're praying, he's preparing. While you're trusting, he's transforming everything around you to align with his perfect plan. And when the time is right, he will bring everything together so beautifully that you'll say, and now I understand why he made me wait. When God brings you through what was meant to destroy you, your story becomes undeniable proof of his power. The same people who once doubted you, mocked you, or said you'd never make it will have no choice but to witness what God has done. Your victory won't just be about you. It will be a declaration that God is real, faithful, and still in control. Sometimes God allows you to be underestimated on purpose, so that when he elevates you, no one else can take the credit. He wants the world to see that his favor is not limited by human opinion. The truth is, your pain will become someone else's hope. The moments that once embarrassed you will become the very testimony that empowers others. God is turning your mess into a message so powerful that it will silence every doubting voice. Those who said, no way, will stand it all when they see how God turned everything around. They'll remember how they counted you out, but God will remind them that his hand was on you all along. What they saw as the end was only the beginning of his glory being revealed through your life. There's coming a day when the same mouths that said you couldn't will be the same ones speaking about what you've accomplished through God's strength. Your triumph will speak louder than their words. And you won't need to defend yourself or seek revenge because God's favor will do the talking. When he blesses you, it won't be a secret. It'll be public enough that even your critics will have to acknowledge only God could have done that. Every storm, every tear, every season of being misunderstood is leading to a moment of undeniable evidence, a moment where your life will reflect his glory. That's why you can't give up now. You're not just fighting for survival. You're walking toward a story that will change lives. When God brings you through, it won't just be restoration. It'll be revelation. People will see what he did for you and start believing he can do it for them too. Your breakthrough will silence every doubt and magnify every promise, proving once and for all that when people said a no way, God was whispering, just watch me. You've come too far to let the voices of doubt define your destiny. The world may have said a no way, but the God who breathed life into you has been saying all along, watch me. Every rejection, every delay, every hidden season was never wasted. It was God preparing you for a moment of divine unveiling. You may have been counted out by people, but you were never forgotten by heaven. Every no from man was simply a setup for a greater yes from God. This is your moment to rise, not in your strength, but in his. Let go of the shame, the fear, and the disappointment that's been weighing you down. You are not a mistake. You are not disqualified. You are chosen, anointed, and divinely positioned. The same God who turned pain into power for those who came before you is doing the same for you right now. He's turning your setback into a setup, your weakness into a weapon, your waiting into a witness. So don't stop now. Keep believing when it doesn't make sense. Keep trusting when you can't trace his hand. Keep walking when you can't see the way. Because behind the scenes, God is moving mountains in your favor. Your story is not over, it's just beginning. The same people who once said a no way will soon watch in silence as God lifts you to heights no one thought possible. This is your call to faith, your call to courage. You're called to stand tall and say, even if the world doubts me, my God is able. The God who parted seas, healed the broken, and raised the dead is the same God writing your next chapter. So lift your head, strengthen your heart, and keep moving forward. Because when God says, watch me, miracles follow. And your life is about to become living proof that he still makes a way when there seems to be no way.